Thanks for joining me once again. This week it's my full review of the Honda CB1000R Black Edition.
Now, if you haven't seen the first ride video, then do please watch that first, because that is a little less informal than what this video will be. This will be going into it a little bit more deeply, including specs and things like that as well. So it's a little bit more relaxed, the first ride video. But yeah, I've had this bike for around 2 weeks now. I've got another week to go. I've done a lot of the filming of it already, so I thought it was a good time to knock up the review video. But overall, as I've said before, I've first rode this bike back in 2018. It was the first litre bike that I rode, and even to this day it still amazes me, the power of these bikes. Absolutely fantastic. Now, a lot of people say, well, is it too much for the road? Well, anything's too much for the road above sort of 300cc anyway, so you know, it just depends what you want, doesn't it? You know, for a lot of people, they like riding litre bikes around, and why not? If that's what ticks your boxes, then fill your boots, I say. You don't have to ride them fast. Some people do, some people don't. But for me, I quite enjoy having all that power there. Having said that, I do find myself constantly chasing the next time I can open it up, which is probably not a good thing. But, as I say, we're all into bikes for different reasons. So if that's your thing, then go for it. And this CB1000R is absolutely fantastic. It really is. Not only is it the power, but the build quality as well is just superb. So let's get straight on with the review now, and let me take you through some of the easy tiger. So let's get the review started anyway. Right, so what's it like then? Well, to sit on, it's very, very comfortable. A nice seat, although it's quite flat and not particularly wide. It is, you know, quite a comfortable seat overall. And I've come down this way so far, and it's not causing me any issues. I don't think that this seat is going to cause me any issues either. You know, even on a longer ride, which I will be doing at some point. Mode selection is very easy. I've got the buttons on the side here, just to click between rain, user and sport. And standard mode, I've found that, you know, even rain mode is pretty quick on this bike, which is what I'll leave it on here now for now. I think it's a bit softer then. Stick it into sport, get it to 8,000, and that's where it really happens. The bike totally changes character, and you get the full benefit of those 4-pot cylinders there. Alright, so let's see what it's like on faster roads. And surprisingly, I'm finding that little fly shield there is actually doing quite a good job of keeping any wind off of me. Just getting a bit on my head really, but no turbulent air whatsoever. So some way or another, this bike is cutting through the air really nicely. The only place I'm getting it more than anywhere else, funnily enough, is my arms, but my torso and the helmet isn't getting very much at all. So some good work been done there on the wind tunnel, or whatever they use these days. Doing 70 miles an hour in 6th gear, and we're at about 4,200 revs, so that's very relaxed. I'm going to be going up quite a steep hill here now, so not that it would affect this bike much. Mirrors are a bit better on a dual carriageway than what they are in town, but still, you know, not very good. And as you can imagine, there's loads more power left. Now, you don't want to brake down there. It's the worst place you can brake down. That's going to cause problems. So overtaking power. There you go, there's the 8000. And all of a sudden it just flies. So as a motorway tourer, it's actually pretty good considering it's a naked. Obviously it does depend on what you need to carry. If you're carrying a pillion, then, well, you're not going to get much else on, are you? And whilst I'm on that, actually, I'm still finding the seat, after about an hour on the saddle now, still to be really comfortable. It's not giving me any issues. It isn't the sort of seat you can move around on. It's not particularly wide, but it does give you a good level of comfort. Well then guys, so let's see what it's like in traffic down at the infamous Alphington Road, which in many cases probably isn't too bad when you consider London traffic or places like that, but it's still pretty heavy for us Devonshire folk. Now obviously you've got all the power that you need, there's no doubt about that, and the bike is very, very light and very eager to nip in and out of places. And it's very confidence inspiring as well, because it is so light. The mirrors are, you know, not up to standard, they're okay, but you just about see over your shoulders. But it's quite a small bike, you know, it's not very long in length, so to speak, so you really feel like you can nip around things quite easily. And one twist of the throttle and you get past the cars that you need to pass. So although I'm looking forward to getting out onto more open roads again, oh, I say that's posh, Bentley. Looking forward to get back out onto faster roads again. Essentially this is still a good bike for city riding and filtering. And of course you've got the relatively noisy engine as well, so people are going to be aware of you. Thank you my friend, just like that. You timed that perfectly. So yeah, for city riding it's pretty good. Now obviously there's only so much you can carry on this bike, so if you're somebody who needs to carry a lot on a bike, then you're going to have to get some panniers or a top box or a like. But the quick shifter really helps in these situations as well, because obviously you're not clutching in, you haven't got that to think about so much. Lifesaver. Right, he's seen me, so around we go. But as with any, you know, bigger capacity bike, whether it's a sports bike or anything over sort of 600cc really, for me personally it's just a bit of a bind going around in these bikes, because you just can't wait to be on the open roads again. But yeah, no, the little CB1000 done a good job of getting us through that lot then. So, and again, the quick shifter was fantastic. There's no clutching in all the time, it's just up and down the gears as you need to. So brilliant. So yeah, it's actually a big tick actually for city riding. The CB1000 does a very good job. Alright, so overall, as a bike for exploring new places and coming to beautiful places like Teignmouth here, it doesn't fatigue you very much, this bike. That's the impression I'm getting with it. It doesn't get tiresome to ride it, because it does ride really well. So if you want to go on a long trip and maybe do 200-300 miles in a day, then considering it's a naked, it does do a very good job of that.
Okay, so let me run you through some stats on this bike. So it's a 998cc 4-pot engine that produces 143 horsepower at 10,500 RPM. Its torque at 8,250 RPM, and it coughs out 104 Newton meters. Alright, so let me take you through the switchgear. So we have the indicators left and right, hazards, the mode selector left and right, up and down. That button there changes some of the modes as well, and this is the main mode selector here, which changes from sport, rain and standard modes, and also a user setting as well, so you can set up your own modes, and a pass like high beam, low beam. Right hand bar, we have the kill switch with the integrated start button. Overall, it's a very simple setup with the switchgear. It's a 6-speed gearbox, which is very, very smooth all the way through the gears. Never a problem finding neutral. And of course, we got the quick shifter on this one as well, up and down, which is just brilliant. It's fantastic. Very smooth, and it snicks into place lovely. It never misses a beat. Well, now this is the black edition. So we have the blacked out cowls here, which are normally stainless steel on the standard edition. It's all powder coated nicely, and we have the silver parts here on the engine block just to make it stand out. We have the nice CNC'd handlebar mounts as well, which look really good, and there's a lot of little CB elements of it that are machined nicely, including this rear set holder here as well. For pillion riding, it is quite a small seat, and also there's no sort of backrest or anything, but the seat isn't very wide either, so bear that in mind. So if you're going to be carrying a pillion quite often, then they would certainly need to try this bike first. Right, so since I've had the bike, it's not been the best time of year to be riding. It's been wet most of the time, but the tyres have been really good. I haven't had any skitty moments or any loss of traction at all. It's a 17-inch wheel on the front and a 17 on the back as well, so it gives you that nimble ability around town. So for those of you that like track riding, which I guess would be a big draw towards this bike, I would imagine that this bike would be really, really good. I mean, for myself, it's not something I've done before, but a lot of people have. So it would be a lot of fun, this bike, and it's where it would come alive and where you could really use all of its power. Because obviously on the roads, this has got so much power that a lot of it you don't really use. But to take it up, past 100 miles an hour, which it would do easily in no time, in second or third gear probably, this bike would be a lot of fun. Now this bike is 214 kilograms, which is quite light really for a litre bike, but at the same time you need to be confident in handling these sort of bikes and the power that they deliver once you do open them up. On the black edition as well, we do have these lovely wheels here which look really good. So they're like a powder coated black, and then they got the silver elements in them as well. They look really, really nice, and overall, the actual steering and the handling of the bike is really fantastic. So it just depends what you want really. If you're a Honda fan, then obviously this is what you're going to go for, and you're guaranteed that you are going to get a decent finish. It is going to be very reliable, and also of course you've got the dealership network as well, which is going to be very good for parts and servicing. So let's talk about the dashboard. So it fires up beautifully on the TFT screen. So we have a rev bar on the left hand side, a decent fuel gauge, riding modes which I can flick from standard, rain, which gives me 1 level of power, 2 levels of engine braking and 3 levels of torque control. So that's going to stop the rear end stepping out. User setting, which we can make up our own set of engine braking power and traction control. Sport level, which has 3 levels of power, 1 level of engine braking and 1 level of traction control. Then on standard mode we have 2 levels of power, 2 levels of engine braking and 2 levels of traction control. Now that's the one which I find most useful on the A roads and on the motorway. Then down the bottom we have the total miles, fuel consumption figures and the date, which I can actually flick through like so, and you've got your trip A there, your trip B with all the fuel consumption figures as well, and then your overall fuel consumption figures down below there. On this side as well we also have a gear indicator, which is very good, very prominent. So as you can see, I just shifted into first gear there, and yeah, it looks great, it looks really, really good. And up the top we have the time and a temperature gauge. Okay, so let's see what it's like to sit on. Now I'm 5'8", I've got a 30-inch inside leg measurement. And as you can see, I'm slightly hunched over the bars, just ever so slightly. Typical Honda fashion, actually. They all seem to be pretty much the same in that effect. They all sort of, you are leant over a bit. Peg height feels like it's relatively sporty, quite high, and the back below my back area. So again, you know, it's not too bad. If you're over 6 foot, then you will need to try this bike, I would say, because you might feel a bit cramped after a while. But for motorway riding, this bike is good. Around town, it's good as well. I can't help but feel that I just can't wait to get onto bigger roads when I'm in town. You know, doing A roads and B roads on this bike is fantastic. That's where it really shines. Okay, so that's it. That's the end of the review. So as you can tell, I think the bike is fantastic. It's got a real quality premium feel to it. Thank you very much for watching. Give it a good like and subscribe if you haven't done already. Thanks for watching. See you next week, Monday at 4 p.m.